Hey everyone, I wanted to demo this pedal that I just built. I got the circuit board from a company called Aion Electronics, unpopulated circuit board. You can order it through them. And this is a Morning Glory clone, and the Morning Glory is a very popular overdrive pedal, which is a clone of the Marshall Bluesbreaker. But what this schematic and what the circuit board let me do is add a whole lot of mods on top of the already modded Morning Glory to this fantastic overdrive pedal. Now this pedal is a very bright pedal. That's the first thing I noticed about it. A lot of people say it's very transparent, which I also think it's true. And just to clarify, when I mean transparent, I really think that it maintains your guitar's tone. So when you're playing humbuckers, you can really tell it's humbuckers. If you're playing a Strat, it's really clear that you're playing a Strat. The controls are the top are just as they are on the regular Morning Glory, a volume control. The Morning Glory has a lot more volume on tap than the original Marshall Bluesbreaker, which is a really great feature. The tone control, which is just a typical tone control, and a drive knob, and that's the stock drive knob. They talk about Aion Electronics in the instructions that if you put a different pot in there, it'll give you more gain, but I left that stock just because I'm a fan of stacking lower gain drives together. I think it sounds better than just utilizing one high gain drive, and so I kept that stock. Now what Aion Electronics added was they added this clipping switch, and this is kind of a really cool feature that I like to have in my overdrives because it lets you experiment a little bit. On the right, which is where it is right now, is the stock Marshall Bluesbreaker clipping, which is silicone clipping. In the middle, it actually lifts the clipping out of the circuit, so there's no clipping, so you get a volume boost, and it's a little bit more touch sensitive because there's less compression from the clipping. And then on the right is a mod. And Aion Electronics suggest a whole ton of different mods to do. And when I was doing research actually on what kind of clippings sound best in a Marshall Bluesbreaker, there wasn't a whole lot of documentation out there. And I think that's because the clipping on Bluesbreaker is very subtle, since it is a very transparent drive. So what actually I'm going to do in this demo is go through a whole range of different clippings, because in this circuit I actually socketed the secondary, this modded clipping section. So we'll go through a whole range of clipping options that I was able to play around with, and you can decide for yourself what you want to put in the pedal eventually. This switch down here is a bright cut switch. In the center position, which is in right now, is the stock Bluesbreaker. It's a very bright pedal, like I said. To the left is what the Morning Glory has in it, the switch, so it cuts it just a little bit. And then to the right is cutting it even more. And like I said, this is a bright pedal, so it's really useful to have that there. This last knob is a treble knob. Aion Electronic calls it a presence knob. I think treble is a little bit more characteristic of what it does. It increases the treble content in a way that's different than the tone knob. Like I said, Aion Electronic calls it a presence knob, and they also only keep it as an internal trim pot. I moved it to the top of the pedal. In the stock Bluesbreaker circuit, this treble knob is all the way down. Because like I said, it's a bright pedal to begin with. Increasing the treble content even more is at some of the higher settings it's a little excessive, but I like to have the ability to increase the content, the treble content on the fly like that. So let's run through a few tones. I'm playing my Mexican Fender Strat into my Create Palomino V16. Here's my clean tone. And here is the Morning Glory. So as you can tell, it's a very bright pedal. So yeah, I'm going to start working through all these knobs. I'm going to try to keep the volume control as high as humanly possible to really work those those tubes in my amp. And let's work our way through the tone knob first. Here's maximum tone, and you're going to hear the pedal gets really bright at this point. So we'll turn that tone knob down and work our way through the drive settings. So now we'll work our way through this treble knob, and like I said, this treble knob, what it does is it adds treble frequencies in a different way than the tone knob. So in case you wanted to do that, I usually don't boost the treble too much when I have the pedal on, but I keep it on a little bit. But we'll work our way through the whole range of the knob. So that's the range of the treble knob. You would probably never use the treble knob in the way I just used it with the bright cut all the way up, or the bright cut not on at all, essentially really the brightest setting that you would want. Typically, if you use the bright, I at least like to use the bright cut switch, the treble knob and the tone knob all kind of in sync with one another to sculpt the tone. So I'm gonna I'll turn the treble knob up just a little bit, and the tone switch up a little bit, and we'll work our way through the bright cut knob now. And you'll see it's subtle, especially here, the first switch, just a little bit of bright cut, but when we switch all the way to the more extreme bright cut, you'll definitely notice it. Volume up a little bit, and here is the less extreme bright cut. And then the more extreme bright cut. So hopefully you can hear that. This middle setting is usually pretty good for me in terms of bright cut, or you can cut it down even more if you want a darker tone that you're looking for. So now we're gonna kind of work our way through the clipping section. And I'm gonna keep the drive. I'm gonna do 2 different settings for each clipping type that we're gonna go through. And I'll note that at the bottom of the screen so you can keep track of that. But I'm gonna do kind of a just over a medium gain and then a full-on drive, so you can kind of get a sense of how the clipping works, and the different characteristics of each clipping style. And like I said, it's very subtle because this is a very transparent overdrive, but pay attention to it because there's definitely a difference, and we'll do that right now. So I hope that gives you a really good sense of kind of the character that each clipping adds to the pedal. I don't know if you can notice it, but some of the clippings give you a little bit bigger drop in volume. The Mosfet clipping or the TS9 stock clipping is a little bit more quiet than some of the other ones. I ended up going with the Mosfet clipping. My favorite is actually just the stock Marshall Bluesbreaker clipping is my favorite, but my second favorite is the Mosfet. It does give you a bit of a volume drop, but it is, to me, probably one of the more natural of the clipping soundings. And the asymmetrical clipping sounded real good to me too, but I ended up going with the Mosfet clipping. So one last thing I'm going to show you is just kind of how dynamic the pedal is, especially with the clipping section off. I have the lift selected for the clipping section, and I'm going to crank the volume pretty much as loud as I can bear right now. And just noodle around a little because I really want you to hear how dynamic this pedal can be. Here's my clean tone just for your reference. So I hope you could tell that I played around with my volume knob a little bit there just to hear it with the volume knob rolled back, but it's a really dynamic, very bright, very punchy pedal. I really enjoy it. I think it's going to stack great in my lineup. It fit in a fairly small enclosure. This is one of the smaller pedals I've built, and it was pretty easy to do. So I definitely suggest you check this pedal out. It's a really great addition to anyone's overdrive collection. Thanks for listening.